Yeah, so I did a talk at a high school for grade 9 to 12s, and it was just wild to see, like, from starting so young that they have such an anxiety about trying to make their body look a certain way. There's a big portion of the girls that aren't eating all day. And even as going like the grade 7 and 8s too, wanting to look a certain way, and they have a big fear of their. And at that point, your body is changing because all those hormones are coming in. It's like we're not taught how to deal with our bodies changing too, and not associating our worth with that. So it was just a big shock, and it hurt. It was sad to see all these young girls really struggling with that to a point of like hurting their bodies, you know. So I had made up a little presentation, and I was like, you know what, this is probably, it's something I always needed to hear as well. And so I wanted to kind of bring up that bring up that conversation. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll just like kind of go through the little slides, but there was a couple things that, anyways, I wanted to share. Feel free to pop in, ask questions at any time or whatnot. But I'm just gonna like rip through that and talk about a couple things that came up and see if any of that resonates or anything that you guys can take with you moving forward. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. Because often I've come to realize it's like when we're first starting to, okay, I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys can see that, eh? Let me share it. Look at this. I'm a big nerd on Canva. I'm gonna blast through here, but okay. So I'm just gonna touch on a couple things that we did with the kiddos. So first I was just kind of telling them about my story because I think feeling not comfortable in our skin and stressing about food and how to nourish ourselves, it's quite a personal thing, and so we keep it to ourselves, and it's not something we talk about very often. And so then nobody knows that anybody else is going through the same things. So I just kind of shared my story a little bit and talked about that so people know that it's quite common, and once we can start talking about it, it gets a little easier. The biggest thing we were talking about that I found important for creating a strong and resilient body image, and I don't even want to just say a good body image because there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. Our goal is to be resilient and not let bad body image days have a negative and lasting impact on our life and what we allow ourselves to do. If we set ourselves up to think that success and self confidence means never having bad body image days, every time we have a tough day, we're going to think that we've failed at something, but it is not a failure. Those days, we're human. There's emotions that come in, and we're not our thoughts, but our thoughts take over at times. So, this is just a reminder that, like, it's not a failure on your self growth journey if you have a bad body image day. We're just going to build up the resilience and give some tools and resources so that when you have those days, you can acknowledge it and not let it ruin your day and not let it turn into a spiral. Just know that it's okay that they happen, but they don't define you. And one thing that I felt that was helpful for that is realizing that, like, our relationship with food is understanding that food is not just this fuel that makes our body bigger or smaller. It's a literal building blocks to every cell in our body. Like, the food we eat is supplying our eyes and our brain and our heart and our lungs and all these things. So even when we're having a hard time with the physical shape or look of our body, we can always come back to that, like, understanding and gratitude for our body and what it allows us to do, and kind of have that be your home. Like, get back to being in awe of how magical and freaking cool our body is. Like, your heart never takes a day off. Your muscles are just like always working for you tirelessly. Your digestive system magically turns food into these invisible like particles that turn into your body. Like, just keep bringing yourself back to that like magical and miraculous thing that is our body. So I'll kind of, anyways, you know what? I might as well just go through it all. We talked about all these different symptoms that our body's not getting enough. And so these are ways we can start tuning in with our body and giving it what it needs, and know that, like, if we're feeling any of these things, It's not because there's anything wrong with us or we like lack motivation. It's just our physical body needs physical nutrients. And so we might just be missing out on some. And then we talked about getting in different colors of plants for different nutrients, blah, blah, blah. Some ideas of supporting our physical health. This was, we were just kind of talking that food is building blocks and it's fuel and it's nourishment, but it's also comfort and connection, experience and joy. Food can be all of those things. We're just looking for the right balance that allows us to do all the things we want to do. So, okay, this is where I wanted to talk with you guys. These were things that I found helpful as actual, like, tangible tools and like perspective changes that that I found helpful for like, okay, dealing with it if we're having a bad body image day, or like doing the work behind the scenes to help reduce the amount of times that we get knocked down by those bad body image days. So first off is changing our environment. We are a product of our environment. We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. We our experience is created by the things that we see. Like normal is defined by what you're used to seeing on the regular. There is no one normal. We create a normal by what we surround ourselves with. So, really being intentional and curating your environment is going to have a big impact on how you feel about yourself. If you surround yourself by information of saying our bodies are magical and they deserve our gratitude and respect, and there's no one right shape and size, and like it's about what you do with it that matters, and making memories, like surround yourself with that as your environment. Curate your social media feed, your friends, like, and also your environment is in your head. Thoughts that you say to yourself, journal, get that stuff out of your brain, and make sure that you're saying supportive and positive things in your head. Make sure that your feed, the shows that you're watching, are supportive of how you want to feel in your body. So that's a really big step, is paying attention to your environment. And then the other thing is understanding that we are not our thoughts. And the way that I like to demonstrate this is, you guys can feel free to do this, and wherever you guys are, but close your fist, and I want you to keep your fist closed like this. So if you can do this with me, have your fist closed, keep it closed, but I want you to think. You can just think it in your head or even say it out loud, but go, open, open your hand, open your fist, open your hand, but you're keeping your fist closed. This is a direct demonstration. You can let go of your hand. This is a direct demonstration that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are not always facts. You don't have to believe everything your head says, and thoughts are just your brain's best guess at what it's like your brain's best guess at creating a perspective of the information that's coming in and deciding what it thinks you should do. But it's one possible perspective. It's guess. It's not fact. It's not true. It's not a command. Like you noticed, you could think all you want, open your hand, but you're not your thoughts. You're the thing that is the consciousness, aware of all your thoughts, taking stock of it, and then deciding what it is that you want to do. So when we have those thoughts that come in our head, because we can't control our thoughts often, eventually we can create our environment so that we're getting more supportive thoughts in, but there will be thoughts that come in that say really negative, mean things about ourselves. They're not true, they're not commands. We don't have to believe everything our head says. So I like that exercise to demonstrate that fact that we are not our thoughts, and we don't have to believe everything that goes on in here. So the other thing that I found really helpful is when we're having a bad body image day, it can feel very real, like, oh, I hate my body, like I don't like the way I look, like I'm really uncomfortable in my skin right now. I just hate it. And then often people will say like, oh, well, just love your body, like just love it. And when you in that moment, you can't believe that. You're like, well, I don't love it, I hate it. So it's like it feels like too big of a jump that you can like believe in. You're like, well, I don't love it right now, like I hate it. So I can't just say that I love it. It's like there's no belief there. So what we can do is just take the next step. Instead of negative thinking, Instead of positive thinking, we just go for accurate thinking. That's the next step. We just go, I have a body. I have a body. It lets me do awesome things. I have a body. I'm feeling uncomfortable in it right now, but I'm not going to let that get in my way. I have a body and it lets me do cool things. And it's the vehicle that's letting me live my life. And it is the least interesting thing about me. So just do that next possible step. Like, don't feel like you have to jump straight to positive thinking and these affirmations that you can't believe in. Just go straight to facts. I have a body. I have a body and it's freaking cool. I'm having a tough day. You can acknowledge that, but you don't let it hold you back. That's the key. And once your brain builds evidence that, like, these thoughts and these days where you feel uncomfortable in your skin, they don't turn into this bigger spiral. It doesn't mean anything other than I'm having a bit of a tougher day today. When you can prove to your brain that that doesn't stop you, it'll have less and less power because we'll have less and less panic about those days. We just go, oh, all right, I'm having one of those days. I have a body and I'm gonna take care of it because I think it's cool, all the things it does, and it lets me live my life. So I'm gonna go live my life, and then you just move forward. The other tactic that I found helpful was, okay, when we've repeated something so many times, it becomes a habit. Like 90% of our life is controlled by our subconscious. Because imagine if you had to be conscious about everything that was coming into your senses, you would just like pass out after like 5 minutes. Like you can hear all the noises, sense all the things, hear all the thoughts. Like it's just too much. So that's why our brain runs a lot of the time on autopilot. So moments like this, where signing on to have a coach and have some accountability and have that space to check in with yourself is really important because this gives us the time to go, okay, is my autopilot taking me in the direction I want to go in? And if not, then we start to plug in different habits. So, it, one of the habits that when I was anxious about my body and I kept putting things off and telling myself like, oh, well, when I look this way, then I'll buy the clothes I want, or then I'll go do the things. One of the habits that came with that was body checking all the time. Every time I saw like a reflection, I'd check my body and I'd kind of pick it apart and be pinching myself. And every reflection, it's like I'd be walking by a car and I'd be body checking. And often, so that becomes an ingrained habit. So it was quite difficult to just be like, well, don't do that anymore. Don't body check, because when we say we can't do something, our brain experiences this like lack sensation. So it goes, oh my gosh, I can't do that. That's all I'm going to want to do. So then it goes, hey, you're not going to be able to body check. Like, do it, do it, do it, do it. You probably noticed this happen when we set rules around food. When we say, okay, starting tomorrow, I won't have that. And it's like now it's like alarm bells going in your head going, oh, there's going to be a lack of gluten or whatever. And now that's all you can think of. So same thing with this habit. So instead of saying, okay, I have to stop doing that and focusing on what we need to cut out or eliminate or stop, because then our focus is there, I'm going to change, I'm going to add into that habit. Now, when I catch myself doing the body checking, I use that as a cue to say something either neutral or positive about myself. When I caught my reflection, I'd go, oh, I have a body. Oh, there, got an elbow. All right, I have some skin. Oh, my lungs are in there. And so I was changing the power. That habit was there and I was shifting, I was taking a little bit of its power away. And then that you're one step closer to changing the habit altogether. But like go kind of step by step. First you change what you make that habit mean and take away some of the power. And then you can kind of, it turned into a pleasant thing for me. Because now every time I catch myself in a reflection, I'm like, hey, you've got a body. It's doing cool things for you. Sweet. And like then it turns into you saying stuff like, wow, your hair's looking shiny today. It's like then you can turn it into anything else. So, anyways, it's kind of modifying and habit swapping whenever it feels really hard to stop a habit. So this is the same type of thing about if we're recognizing that a lot of our pain and suffering is coming from caring about our body and caring about how it looks. If we just tell ourselves, well, just don't care about how you look, stop caring. Same thing. It's like easier said than done. Now all I can think about is how I care even more about my body. So instead of trying to ignore that, okay, we're human, we care about how our body looks. Like we, our brain is like, our brain was built on a system for like 100 for like thousands of years ago. And a key part to survival was fitting in, was having a tribe, was feeling a part of the group so that they would protect you and help feed you. Like, so this is a very deep instinctual, like, desire is to fit in. And we live in a world and environment where we're getting yelled at all the time with like social media and magazines and movies and books of like, okay, this is what it means to fit in. This is the ideal body type. This is the ideal type of person. And so you're like on autopilot. Your base instinct is going to be, okay, well, I have a need to fit in because that's what helps me survive. Okay, it must be really valuable to try to fit into this box. So to just tell your brain to go against thousands of years of pre-wired instincts to not care about how you look because society's yelling at you that, well, this is the way to fit in. So, a step to remove a little bit of the power of that is, instead of saying trying to stop caring about how you look, shift your focus to what are the things that you care about more. Yes, you may be caring about how you look, or you may be having a bad body image day, and we're going to shift our focus to what do you care about more. So that can exist. This feeling of caring about how we look can exist, but we're going to take away a little bit of its power because we're going to put our energy and our focus on the things we care about more. I care about making memories. I care about making connections. I care about having cool stories to tell my kids when I'm older. I care about feeling good and not feeling sluggish and not having a sore stomach and not being bloated. So pay attention to the things that you care about more instead of trying to ignore those other thoughts or pretend that they don't exist or stop caring about something. Focus on what you can want to care about more. So these were a couple things that stood out to me as being really helpful for like grounding ourselves, bringing ourselves back to our body and changing our perspective on how we feel in it. So here, I'm going to stop this share here. And I just wanted to open it up and see if did any of that kind of resonate with you, ladies, or anything stick out that you think could be helpful, or anything to add? Oh, Sean. Oh, you're on mute there. Whoops. Can I unmute you? There we go. Yeah, did anything pop out and here, you know what? I'm gonna stop the recording and we can chat.